You know, every time I sit down to talk about food, especially carbohydrates, I think about the countless conversations I've had with patients in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s. People who look at a warm piece of bread or a bowl of mashed potatoes the way they'd look at an old friend, someone they love deeply, but feel they can no longer trust. And maybe you felt that too, that quiet guilt, that fear that one simple meal might send your blood sugar climbing like a rocket. But today, I want to start by telling you something important, something I wish more people heard sooner. Carbs aren't the enemy. Bread isn't the villain. Rice isn't out to get you. Potatoes aren't plotting against your waistline. The real story is far more human, far more gentle, and if you're over 60, this story matters more than ever. You see, after 60, the body starts to whisper the truth in ways it never did before. Insulin sensitivity, the way your muscles welcome glucose, naturally declines. It's not your fault, it's biology. The liver collects more fat, stress creeps in more easily, sleep becomes lighter, and the mitochondria, well, they don't fire quite like they used to. So suddenly, the same slice of bread you ate effortlessly in your 30s now hits you harder. You feel it. Not just in your glucose numbers, but in your energy, your cravings, even the way your clothes fit the next morning. I had a patient not long ago, Mary, 72 years old. She looked at me and said, "Doctor, I swear, I gain weight just by looking at a potato." We laughed together. But beneath the joke, there was worry, a sense of loss, a feeling many of you may know that aging means giving up the foods you love. But here's the part I want you to hold on to. You don't have to give them up. You just have to learn to eat them differently. Think of your body like a house with doors that open and close. When you were young, every door swung wide open. Carbs walked right in, no trouble, no stress. But as we age, those doors become a little slower, a little stiffer. And if carbs rush the door all at once, insulin has to rise fast to control the chaos. But what if you could guide carbs through the door gently, calmly, at the right time, with the right company? That's the heart of what I'm sharing today. I want you to imagine this. You're sitting at your dining table. The meal is warm, comforting, familiar. But this time, instead of diving straight into the bread or the potatoes, you begin with something simple, a handful of greens, maybe a small salad. You're giving your digestive system a head start, laying down a soft landing pad. Then you follow it with protein, maybe eggs, chicken, salmon, foods that help your hormones keep everything steady, foods that say to your pancreas, take it slow, we've got time. And only then, only after your body is ready, you take that first bite of bread or rice or potatoes. No guilt, no fear, just enjoyment. I want you to picture that moment, because it's a moment where you are in control, not your cravings, not your insulin, not your age. Carbohydrates aren't the problem. The problem is how we eat them, when we eat them, and what we pair them with. If you've ever felt frustrated with your metabolism, if you've ever wondered why eating feels different after 60, let me reassure you it's not a failure, it's simply a shift. And once you understand it, you can work with your body, not against it. And that's what we're going to do together in this video. Help you bring back the foods you love in a way that loves you back. You know, one of the simplest, most powerful things I've learned in more than 3 decades of working with people over 50 is this. Sometimes it's the smallest habit, the one we overlook, that changes everything. And when it comes to controlling blood sugar after a meal, the first habit I teach is almost too simple. Just walk. A gentle, comfortable, 10-minute walk after you eat. That's it. And yet, I've watched it transform people's lives. I had a patient, James, 68, former truck driver, who told me, "Doc, I don't move much after dinner. I just sit, watch TV, and hope my glucose behaves." But nothing was behaving. His numbers spiked every night. His energy crashed. He thought he needed another medication. But all he needed was movement. You see, when you take that short walk, whether it's around the block, down your hallway, or just pacing in your living room, your muscles open tiny doors called glucose transporters. They pull sugar straight out of your bloodstream and use it for fuel. It's like your muscles say, "Don't worry, pancreas, we've got this one." And this works especially well after foods most of us love: rice, bread, pasta, potatoes, the comfort foods of our childhood and our culture. I want you to imagine something. You finish your meal. Instead of sinking into the couch right away, you stand up, put on your shoes, and step outside. The air might be cool on your face, the world might be quiet, your body relaxes, your mind clears. With each step, you're telling your metabolism, I'm helping you. It's peaceful, it's gentle, and it is medicine. Not the kind in a bottle, the kind your body already knows how to use. 10 minutes. That's all it takes to flatten that post-meal spike sometimes by 30, even 70%. I've seen people reduce cravings, sleep better, and even lose weight without changing anything else. And here's what I want you to remember. It's not about perfection. It's about partnership, partnering with your body, especially after 60, when it needs a little more help and a little more kindness. So the next time you finish a plate of warm potatoes or a bowl of rice, don't punish yourself. Walk with yourself. Support yourself. Give your body the simple movement it's asking for. A 10-minute walk. It just might change your day. And honestly, it might change your life. There's something I wish more people over 60 heard sooner. Something so simple, yet so overlooked. The order in which you eat your food matters just as much as what you eat. Let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, a patient of mine, Linda, 71, looked at me across the exam room and said, "Doctor, I barely touch sweets, but one small bowl of rice still sends my numbers through the roof. What am I doing wrong?" And I smiled and told her, "You're not doing anything wrong. You're just eating in the wrong order." You see, your body doesn't respond to carbs the same way it did in your 30s. The front door is a little slower to open now. But here's the beautiful part. You can guide that door with something very simple: protein and healthy fat. When you eat eggs, chicken, fish, beef, or even plant proteins before your carbs, you send a very calming message to your pancreas. Protein triggers a hormone called glucagon. It's like insulin's gentle partner, the one that says, let's keep things steady, slow, and controlled. And when you add a touch of healthy fat olive oil on your vegetables, a few slices of avocado, a handful of nuts, your digestion slows just enough for your bloodstream to stay even, stable, peaceful. I want you to imagine this for a moment. You sit down to dinner. Instead of reaching straight for the bread or diving into the potatoes, you start with a piece of salmon, maybe a bit of chicken. You enjoy the warmth, the flavor, the comfort of real protein. Then you take a bite of your vegetables, softened with a drizzle of olive oil, maybe a sprinkle of seeds. By the time you get to the carbs, your body is ready. Your blood sugar rises slowly. Your insulin stays calm. Your muscles say, yes, we can handle this. You feel fuller, longer. Your cravings shrink. And those sudden crashes, the ones that make you reach for more food an hour later, melt away. I've seen this one simple shift change the lives of people who thought they had no control left. People like Linda, who later told me, "Doctor, I didn't cut carbs. I just learned how to respect them." And that's really what this lever is about. Respect. Respecting your body. Respecting your age. Respecting the quiet wisdom of eating in a way that supports you, not stresses you. So next time you sit down with bread, rice, or potatoes, start with protein. Give your body the foundation it deserves. Your blood sugar will thank you. Your energy will thank you. And truly, you will thank you. There's a moment I will never forget, something that happened many years ago. Long before apple cider vinegar became a trend on the internet, a patient of mine, Harold, 74, walked into my office and told me, "Doc, I feel like my body betrayed me. I eat the same meals I've eaten for decades, but now my sugars jump like crazy." And I remember sitting back in my chair, looking at him with a smile and saying, "Harold, your body isn't betraying you. It's asking for a little help." That help, sometimes, comes from the simplest places. And one of the simplest is this: a small tablespoon of vinegar or lemon water before you eat. Now, before you roll your eyes or think this sounds like another miracle cure trending on social media, hear me out. I've spent over 30 years working with people over 50. I've watched what happens inside the body. I've read the studies, and I've seen the transformation firsthand. When you drink a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar or even plain white vinegar, or the juice of half a lemon mixed into a glass of water about 10 to 15 minutes before a meal, something remarkable happens. Your stomach slows down its emptying, just a bit, not in a harmful way, but in a protective way. It's like giving your digestive system a gentle reminder. Take your time. There's no need to rush. That slower emptying means glucose enters your bloodstream more gradually. Your insulin doesn't have to surge. Your pancreas doesn't have to panic. Your blood sugar curve stays softer, calmer, easier to handle. And for many people, especially those in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, this one small step reduces their after-meal blood sugar by 20 to 30%, sometimes even more. I want you to picture this. You're preparing for dinner. Maybe something warm and comforting: rice, potatoes, a little bread on the side. Before you take your seat, you fill a glass with water, stir in a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, or squeeze in some fresh lemon. You take a few sips. It's simple, quiet, almost ritual-like, and in that small moment, you're telling your body, I'm on your side. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with a woman named Carol, 65, who had struggled with post-meal glucose spikes for years. Medications helped, but not enough. Diet changes helped, but left her feeling restricted and discouraged. When she added vinegar before meals, she came back with tears in her eyes and said, "Doctor, I didn't know something so small could give me my confidence back." She wasn't talking about weight or numbers. She was talking about control, the feeling that her body wasn't working against her anymore. And that's what I want for you. This isn't about chasing perfection. It's about learning tiny habits that move with you, support you, and make aging a little gentler. So the next time you sit down for a comforting bowl of potatoes or a plate of pasta, don't fear it. Prepare for it. Give your body that tablespoon of help, and let the meal be something you enjoy, not something you dread. Sometimes healing starts with the smallest glass of water. There's something almost comforting about carbohydrates. Isn't there bread fresh out of the oven, a warm bowl of rice, a soft baked potato on a cold evening? These foods are tied to our memories, our families, our childhood kitchens. And as we get older, we don't just eat them for fuel, we eat them for comfort, for connection. But somewhere along the way, many people over 50 start to fear carbs. I see it in my clinic all the time. A patient comes in, looks down, and says, "Doctor, I know I shouldn't eat bread anymore, but I miss it." And I always tell them the same thing. You don't need to give up carbs. You just need to choose the ones that treat your body kindly. That's where this new lever comes in, something I call choosing slow carbs or whole carbs. Carbs that don't rush into your bloodstream like a flood, but instead move gently, gradually, giving your body time to handle them without an insulin spike. Let me tell you about a gentleman named Robert, 78 years old, a retired math teacher. One day he told me, "Doc, I feel like my energy crashes after lunch, but I can't give up my potatoes. They're my comfort food." I smiled at him and said, "You don't have to. You just need to change how you cook them." And that's when I taught him about something many people don't realize. Resistant starch. It's not a supplement. It's not a product. It's simply what happens when you cook carbs like rice or potatoes. Let them cool, and then reheat them later. That cooling process changes the structure of the starch. It makes it resistant harder for the body to break down quickly, which means the glucose enters your bloodstream more slowly, which means your insulin stays calmer, which means you stay steadier. When Robert tried this, he came back 2 weeks later and said, "It feels like my food stopped fighting me." And I hear that a lot. The same principle applies when you choose whole grain bread instead of white bread, or sweet potatoes instead of regular potatoes, or beans instead of pure starches. Whole grain bread has the fiber nature intended, the kind your grandmother would recognize, the kind that slows digestion, softens blood sugar surges, and leaves you feeling full instead of foggy. Sweet potatoes digest more slowly than white potatoes, giving your bloodstream a gentler rise instead of a spike. They're almost like nature's version of steady energy. And beans, well, beans are their own little miracle. They're carbs, yes, but also fiber, protein, minerals, everything that supports stable glucose. I sometimes joke with my patients that if beans were a brand new invention, every health company in America would be trying to claim them as a breakthrough superfood. Choosing these slow carbs isn't about dieting or punishment. It's about respecting your body's changed biology as you age, respecting the wisdom of your metabolism, respecting the meals that nourish you without overwhelming you. I want you to imagine this. You're sitting down to dinner. Maybe some rice you cooked yesterday and gently reheated. Maybe a slice of hearty whole grain bread with a little butter. Maybe a side of warm black beans or sweet potatoes. You take a bite and instead of guilt, you feel peace. Because you're not depriving yourself. You're adapting. You're choosing foods that work with you, not against you. And that, to me, is what healthy aging is all about, not giving up the foods you love, but learning to love them in a way that keeps you strong, steady, and fully alive. There's a simple habit I wish more people over 60 understood, a habit so gentle, so ordinary, that it often gets overlooked. And yet, in my decades as a physician, I've seen it lower blood sugar spikes more reliably than many complicated diets. It's this: eat your fiber first. Now, before you think this sounds too basic to matter, let me share a moment that stays with me. A woman named Linda, 69 years old, came into my office one afternoon. She sat down, sighed, and said, "Doctor, I don't understand. I eat healthy, or at least I try, but every time I have rice or pasta, my blood sugar shoots up like a rocket." I asked her a simple question, "Linda, what do you eat first on your plate?" She paused for a moment, then said, "Well, the carbs. They taste better." I smiled. Let's make one small change. And that change was this. Before eating any rice, bread, pasta, or potatoes, she would start with a handful of vegetables, a little salad, some steamed broccoli, maybe a spoonful of sauerkraut or pickled vegetables, something with fiber, something real. Most people don't realize what that fiber actually does. Inside your digestive system, it acts almost like a soft net, a gentle mesh that slows the way glucose moves into your bloodstream, not blocking it, just steadying it, guiding it. And when glucose enters slowly, insulin doesn't have to spike. Your energy stays even, your hunger stays calm, your brain stays clearer, and your blood sugar after eating can drop by 30 to 40%. For many older adults, that's the difference between feeling exhausted after a meal and feeling human again. I remember telling Linda, think of the vegetables as the foundation, the thing that steadies the rest of your meal. She laughed and said, "So you're telling me to eat like my grandmother taught me?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you," I said. "Because our grandparents understood something we've lost in modern life. Meals are meant to have order, rhythm, a pace. I want you to picture yourself at your next dinner. You sit down, you take a breath, and instead of diving into the bread or the potatoes, you start with something green, maybe spinach with a drizzle of olive oil, maybe cucumbers, maybe a small bowl of cabbage or cauliflower. You don't have to force anything. Just start there. And as you do, imagine your body saying, "Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to process this meal the way I was designed to. Thank you for slowing things down. Thank you for choosing the path that keeps me steady." The beauty of this habit is its simplicity. Anyone can do it. It doesn't require willpower, expensive supplements, or complicated rules. Just a small shift in the order of eating, a shift that respects your metabolism, especially as you age. So the next time you sit down with a plate that brings you comfort, remember, start with fiber, start with kindness, start with the foods that prepare your body for what comes next. Sometimes the softest steps create the strongest health. There's something I've learned. After 40 years of sitting across from patients in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even 90s, when you eat carbs can matter just as much as how you eat them. Most of us grow up believing food is food, that the body will handle it the same way, whether we eat it at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. But aging has a way of changing the rules quietly, without asking our permission. And one of the big shifts is this: our insulin sensitivity, the body's ability to handle carbs smoothly, follows a rhythm. Let me tell you a story. A gentleman named Robert, 73 years old, came to see me last spring. He loved oatmeal, fruit, and occasionally a slice of sourdough. "Doc," he said, "I've given up all my favorite foods because every time I eat carbs at dinner, I feel awful. My glucose shoots up and I crash like a plane losing power." I asked him, "Have you tried eating those same carbs earlier in the day?" He shook his head. Why would that matter? So I explained something simple, something few people realize. Your body is naturally more insulin sensitive in the morning and early afternoon. That means the same bowl of rice that causes a big spike at 7 p.m. might cause a much smaller one at 1 p.m. When the sun is up, your hormones are more cooperative, your muscles are awake, your cells are willing to take in glucose without a fight. But as evening comes, everything shifts. We're more resistant, more sluggish, less forgiving. And when you add stress, lack of sleep, or a day spent sitting at a desk or in a recliner, your body becomes even more resistant. I looked at Robert and said, "Try moving your carbs to breakfast or lunch. Pair them with protein, and after you eat, just take a slow walk around your block." 2 weeks later, he returned, smiling. "Doc, it worked. same food, same carbs, different timing, and my energy feels steady again. That's why I created something I call the Smart Carb Routine, a simple 3-step rhythm that helps older adults enjoy the foods they love without paying the metabolic price. Step 1. Prepare the body. Before your meal, give your metabolism a gentle head start. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar or lemon in water. A few bites of protein, some greens with olive oil. This combination signals your body to slow down digestion, stabilize blood sugar, and handle whatever comes next with grace rather than chaos. I often tell my patients, think of this step as smoothing the runway before the plane lands. Step 2. Save the carbs for last. I know it sounds almost too simple, but the order of eating can transform your post-meal response. When you start with protein, fiber, and healthy fats, they create a steady base. Then, when the carbs arrive, the body absorbs them gradually instead of all at once. It's the difference between filling a glass under a slow faucet or blasting it with a fire hose. One leads to balance, the other to spikes, crashes, cravings, and fatigue. Step 3. Move for 10 minutes. Not a workout, not a treadmill session, just light, gentle movement walking through your home, stepping outside to breathe the evening air, strolling around the kitchen as you clean up. This tiny step opens your muscles like little glucose sponges and helps pull sugar out of your bloodstream without forcing your insulin to rise. Over and over. I've watched patients tell me, I thought I needed a new diet, but what they really needed was just movement after dinner. And when you put these 3 steps together, preparation, sequencing, movement, something remarkable happens. Your insulin begins to settle, your cravings quiet down, your metabolism becomes more willing to burn fat instead of storing it. The belly fat that felt impossible to lose begins to soften. Your sleep becomes deeper because your blood sugar isn't crashing in the middle of the night. Your energy in the morning feels more stable. Your mind feels a little clearer, your focus a little sharper, and your inflammation, that quiet companion of aging, finally begins to loosen its grip. The older I get, the more I realize health isn't just about restriction or discipline. It's about rhythm, sequence, timing, about learning to work with your body instead of forcing it into battle. So the next time you sit down for a meal, remember this gentle routine. Start with care, end with carbs. Move with intention, and honor the way your metabolism changes with time. You don't have to fear the foods you love. You just have to learn the timing that loves you back. As we come to the end of this conversation today, I want you to take a slow breath and really let something sink in. Your relationship with carbs does not have to be a battle. Not at 60, not at 70, not ever. For so many years, we've been taught to fear bread, rice, potatoes, as if these foods somehow turned against us the moment we got older. But the truth is far gentler. Our bodies don't stop loving carbs. They simply ask us to treat them with more understanding, more patience, more rhythm. And when you use the tools we talked about, fiber first, protein first, smart movement, timing your meals earlier in the day, you're not dieting. You're giving your body the conditions it needs to feel steady again. You're working with your biology instead of fighting it. I want you to think about something. What if health, at this stage of life, isn't about perfection at all? What if it's about wisdom, the kind you've earned through decades of living? You already know that rushing rarely leads to good outcomes. You already know that small steps, taken steadily, create the biggest changes. And that's all these habits are. Gentle steps, sustainable steps, steps that respect your age instead of ignoring it. Over the years, I've watched patients in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond completely transform the way they feel, not by cutting out everything they love, but by learning the simple language of their own metabolism. And I hope, today, you've taken one more step toward speaking that language with confidence. If you've been struggling with energy crashes, cravings, stubborn belly fat, foggy thinking after meals, feeling like your body is working against you, I want you to remember something important. You are not broken. Your body is not failing you. It is simply asking for a different approach. And now you have that approach. Before you go, I want to ask you a small favor, not for me, but for the thousands of people out there your age who are confused, overwhelmed, and scared to enjoy food again. If this video gave you clarity, if it made you feel hopeful, if it helped you understand your body in a new way, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone you care about, a spouse, a friend, a sibling. And if you'd like to keep learning these simple, science-backed strategies for aging with strength and calm, hit that subscribe button. This community is growing every day, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of yourself gently, wisely, and consistently. I'll see you in the next video.